What's up, YouTube? I am back. I got a lot of great feedback from these on Instagram, so I went ahead and bought another pair, and I'm excited to show you guys how to recreate my New Balance 992 Sun. I actually had no idea how this was gonna come out. I ended up going with the Sun route. Originally, I wanted it to look like the Jown 992s. This is the original pair, and I made it look like this guy. But I originally wanted to dye this with blue to make it turn the whole shoe green, but that did not happen. So this is what I came up with, the 992 Sun. And let's dive into it now, guys. Alright guys, so for this project, you're gonna need the yellow 992s. I know they're gonna be kind of hard to find now. They're pretty much sold out everywhere. I got my pair off of StockX. If you're lucky, you can find some on eBay or somewhere floating around used, but these 992s are a little bit rare now, guys. So if you're looking to cop a pair, I would say try to go on StockX right away. Shout out to the homie Sam from StockX. You're gonna need some blue suede dye. I usually just use the brush here, but you might want to use this if you don't want to get too messy. This might be hard to find, but if you can get this, find yourself a Foxtrott midsole stainer, the cream one. Synthetic Rit Dye in chocolate brown. You will also need Rit Dye Remover. This is where we take out the yellow from the suede here. And you will also need a suede eraser to bring back the suede after you dye it. And of course, yellow gloves, which I never end up using, but I will try to remember this time. Make sure to use your gloves, guys. You're gonna be using lotion on your hands for the rest of your life. Forgot to mention that you will need acetone for this project as well. So make sure you have enough acetone. That will be used for the sole. That's when you're gonna scrub off the orange paint and the whole sole to give this oxidized look. Alright guys, so first thing we're going to be doing is of course taking out the insoles and the laces. Now for my original 992 Sun pair, I took these laces from Salehi's 2002 New Balance. He had extra laces that were a little bit darker than the traditional white, and I added it to it. Thought it gave it a cooler tone. So we don't have an extra pair of those, so I will be dyeing these shoelaces. Hopefully it comes out a light tan colorway to match the ones that I used for my original pair. Originally, what I did with my first pair is that I painted the whole shoe blue. I wanted the whole shoe to turn green, but it ended up just looking like a huge mess, which resulted in me using the Rit Dye Remover, which ended up making the suede gray. I will just be using the suede dye here and painting all of this gray nubuck that you see around the shoe. And you don't necessarily have to be too precise here. You can, I just dabbled it last time because the mesh here does not stick to the dye when you use the Rit Dye Remover. So you can go ahead and go ham on this if you wanted to, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to be a little more precise this time, because you can kind of still see it bleeding on the mesh, which doesn't bother me, but some people might. So I would say, let's try to be careful this time. First, let me put on my freaking gloves. I finally remembered. Just gonna go ahead and paint the gray. I'm really not too worried about getting it on the suede and the mesh. You could kind of see it's a little sloppy. I would let this dry for about 3 hours, and then you can put this in the Rit Dye next. It's okay that it bled. It won't stick when you use the Rit Dye Remover, so you should be good. I'm just pre-soaking the shoe right now. We're getting ready to take out the yellow out of the suede with the Rit Dye Remover. Now that the water is getting pretty close, I'm gonna go ahead and pour the Rit Dye Remover in. Now make sure to have a face mask on and do not breathe this in. And now you can go ahead and dump the shoes in and let the shoes sit for a good 30 to 45 minutes. This is the first look at the shoe with one bath of the dye remover. There's the blue suede stain there. I'm hoping the dye remover will take that out in the next bath. It is currently at the green stage, which looks kind of fire. So if you guys liked how this shoe looks now, I would just keep it like this. This looks pretty hard. Looks a little dark, but once you wash it out, it should be good. Just make sure to continually mix this for a good 10 to 15 minutes. I think it's about ready to take out, but once you wash it, it's gonna lighten up a lot. So this is the original white laces. These are the laces I got off another New Balance shoe. And this is the coffee dyed laces. Pretty close. This is still wet, so once it dries up, you know, it'll lighten up a little bit more. But I think it's a lot better than the white laces. Doing the Rit Dye process again. The shoe's pretty much dried. It's still a little yellow, green. I'm gonna go ahead and just dump it in again. Hopefully it gets rid of this blue mark here and make this mark gray before we dump it in the brown dye. All right, we're gonna do the brown dye now. There we have it, guys. Now the shoe looks dark right now, but once it dries up, you will see the lighter gray or the dark gray show up. And then you see the orange eyelet. That's what made me decide to paint the sole orange, because this I did not like. I tried using acetone on this, and that's when I rubbed off this paint, and that's when I decided to paint the whole thing orange. The shoes have been dried. This is after the brown dye. Not sure why it becomes gray. I'm not complaining, but this is after the brown dye. Just go ahead and grab this cream stainer from Foxtrott, which, by the way, I did speak with them. He is re-releasing this on Friday, I believe, so get ready for that. But he always restocks this. If you miss his restock, just stay on the lookout. So first thing we're gonna do now, since the shoe is dried, we're gonna go ahead and take the suede eraser and just make the suede nice again, you know. Alright guys, I just finished up doing the other pair of the suede. Now we're gonna get into acetone and just wiping down the soles, and we're gonna strip this paint as much as we can, and then we'll start the painting process after. I'm using microfiber towels. I probably should have added that. When I'm stripping the paint, I like to smear it towards the front, because I do want the front to have a lighter base so that the orange can be a little more vibrant. You can see the paint almost all gone. Paint's been stripped off the sole. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and use the stainer. Now the trick is to get this really thick in there. So I usually just grab the rag I use for the acetone, just start rubbing it in there. Start to see the fade. I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching my YouTube channel. If you guys enjoyed the shoes and you guys liked watching this tutorial, please go ahead and like my video and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.